Have you ever stared into the darkness and felt like something was staring back? Do you have questions that keep you up at night, questions that feel too big for this world? What if you could find an answer, just a glimpse, but you're afraid of what that answer might be? What if you look into the void and see a face you don't recognize, or worse, one you recognize all too well? People seek out the black mirror because they are searching, but the deep, primal fear is that they might actually find something. Number 25. What is this black mirror really? The famous obsidian mirror used by John Dee, the court astrologer to Queen Elizabeth I, was not originally a scrying tool. It was an Aztec cult object, a polished stone likely used for ritual purposes that he acquired in the 1560s. The ancient Greeks didn't use mirrors as we know them. They practiced cataptromancy using polished metal surfaces like bronze shields to see the future. The term scry itself is a shortened form of the Old English word descry, which simply means to catch sight of something that is difficult to see. So, what is this thing? Let's get straight to it. A black mirror is a scrying tool. Scrying just means gazing into a surface to receive visions or information. It's not a portal. It's not a doorway for demons, despite what movies tell you. Think of it more like an antenna for your own mind. It's a tool for focus. A regular mirror shows you your reflection. It shows you what is already there in the physical world. A black mirror does the opposite. It absorbs the light. It gives you a perfect, dark, empty space. This void becomes a screen. Your conscious mind gets bored staring at nothing. It quiets down. And when it quiets down, your subconscious mind, your intuition, or whatever you want to call it, can start projecting images onto that screen. Some people believe these images come from spirits, from the universe, from other dimensions. Others believe it's all psychology. They say it's a controlled way to access parts of your own brain that you normally can't reach. It's a way to unlock memories, insights, and creative ideas buried deep inside. Maybe it's a bit of both. The truth is, nobody knows for sure. Anyone who tells you they know exactly how it works is probably selling something. And what matters is the experience itself. The tool is simple, a black reflective surface. It could be a finely crafted piece of obsidian, a piece of black painted glass in a frame, or even the screen of your powered down smartphone. The tool isn't the magic. The magic, if there is any, happens in the space between you and the reflection. It's about creating a focal point so deep and so empty that your mind has no choice but to fill it. It's an exercise in perception. You are teaching yourself to see in a different way, to look past the surface of things and into the quiet dark where other information might be waiting. It's less about summoning something and more about listening to what's already there. Number 24, do I need to buy a fancy one? Nostradamus, perhaps the most famous scryer in history, didn't use a black mirror. His primary method was hydromancy, staring into a bowl of water that was sometimes agitated or had ink added to it. The clawed glass, a small, slightly convex black mirror popular in the 18th century, was not used for divination at all. It was carried by artists and tourists to help them compose picturesque landscape paintings by simplifying the color and tonal range of the scene. You can make a perfectly functional scrying mirror for less than $10, using a picture frame and a can of matte black spray paint. The short answer is no. You absolutely do not need an expensive, antique, or magically charged mirror. The idea that you need a costly tool is a modern marketing invention. For centuries, people have scryed using whatever they had. A bowl of water, a puddle of ink in the palm of their hand, a polished piece of coal, a shiny thumbnail. The object itself is not the source of power. It is a focus point, nothing more. Its only job is to provide a dark, reflective surface that your eyes can get lost in. Your intention and your focus are what make the process work. A $100 obsidian sphere and the screen of your turned-off iPad can achieve the same result if your mind is in the right place. Here is how you can make your own. Go to a thrift store or a dollar store. Buy a simple picture frame with a glass front. One that's about 5 by 7 inches or 8 by 10 inches is a good size. Take it apart. Clean the piece of glass thoroughly. Make sure there are no smudges or dust. Take the glass outside or to a well-ventilated area. Lay it down on some newspaper, take a can of black spray paint. A matte or satin finish is often better than gloss because it reduces glare, but either will work. Spray a thin, even coat on one side of the glass, let it dry completely, then add another coat. And another. You want the back to be completely opaque. 3 or 4 thin coats are better than one thick, drippy one. Once it's bone dry, put it back in the frame with the painted side facing the back. You now have a black mirror. It's that simple. Does a mirror made of obsidian or black scrying stone have a different feel? Yes, it can. These materials have their own energy, their own history. Some people find it easier to connect with natural materials. But is it necessary? No. Don't let a lack of fancy equipment stop you. The most powerful tool in this entire process is your own mind. The mirror is just the key you use to unlock the door. A cheap key can open the same lock as an expensive one. What matters is that you turn it. Number 23. How does this even work? Is it magic or my brain? The Ganzfeld effect, a phenomenon studied by perceptual psychologists since the 1930s, demonstrates that when the brain is deprived of varied sensory input, it starts to generate its own. Subjects in experiments who wore halved ping-pong balls over their eyes and listened to white noise reported complex, vivid hallucinations. Dr. Raymond Moody, known for his work on near-death experiences, built a modern psychomanteum in the 1990s in a dimly lit room with a large mirror angled to reflect darkness to help people in grief potentially see apparitions of their deceased loved ones, with many reporting success. The Troxler effect, discovered in 1804, is a form of sensory adaptation where an unchanging stimulus in your peripheral vision will fade and disappear from your perception, which can cause strange visual effects when staring at a fixed point. This is the big question, and the honest answer is it's probably both, and it doesn't really matter which. Let's start with the brain science because it's real and it's fascinating. When you stare into a black, featureless surface in a dimly lit room, you are creating a mild form of sensory deprivation. Your eyes are open, but they aren't receiving much new information. The brain hates a vacuum. It's a pattern recognition machine. When it can't find a pattern, it starts creating them. This is called pareidolia. It's why you see faces in clouds or figures in wood grain. In the black mirror, your brain takes the tiny flecks of light, the subtle shifts in darkness, and your own retinal noise, and it tries to make sense of them. It pulls from your memories, your fears, your hopes, and your subconscious to create images. This is also where phenomena like the Ganzfeld effect and hypnagogic imagery come in. Hypnagogia is that weird, dreamlike state between being awake and being asleep. Like, it's when you might see floating shapes, hear your name called, or have sudden, strange thoughts. Scrying puts you into a light trance, a state very similar to hypnagogia. You are intentionally guiding yourself into a mental space where the logical, critical part of your brain takes a back seat and the more intuitive, symbolic part comes forward. So, from a purely psychological perspective, scrying is a method of communicating with your own subconscious. The images you see are symbols and metaphors from your own mind, offering you insights you weren't consciously aware of. Now, let's talk about the other side of it. The magic. Is it possible that this focused mental state, this trance, does more than just talk to your subconscious? Is it possible that your brain acts like a receiver, and the mirror helps you tune out the static of the everyday world so you can pick up on a different frequency? Many people who practice scrying believe this is the case. They feel they are connecting with external intelligences, guides, spirits, or just a universal field of information. They see things they couldn't possibly know. They get answers to questions they haven't even fully formed. The psychological explanation doesn't fully account for these experiences. In the end, maybe the distinction isn't that important. Whether the vision of a key comes from your deep subconscious, telling you that you already have the solution to a problem, or from a spirit guide offering you a symbolic message, the result is the same. You now have the symbol of a key to work with. The experience is what is real. The insight is what is valuable. Don't get too hung up on trying to label it. Just let it happen. The brain is the hardware. The scrying technique is the software. What you choose to believe about the signal you're receiving is up to you. Number 22, what kind of mindset do I need? Ancient scryers often underwent extensive purification rituals before a session, which could include fasting, specific diets, and days of prayer, all designed to clear the mind and body of mundane distractions. In many traditions, scrying is not performed when the practitioner is emotionally distressed, angry, or physically ill, as it's believed these states can stain the vision or attract undesirable influences. A 2014 study on mindfulness meditation showed that even brief periods of meditation can increase the brain's alpha waves, which are associated with a state of relaxed wakefulness, a mental state very similar to the ideal scrying trance. Your mindset is more important than your mirror. It's more important than the incense you burn or the candles you light. You can have the most expensive setup in the world, but if your head isn't in the right space, you will see nothing but your own frustration reflected back at you. The ideal state for scrying is one of relaxed, passive curiosity. It is not a state of intense, forceful concentration. If you try to force a vision to appear, you will fail. It's like trying to force yourself to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more awake you become. Think of it like this: you are not hunting for images. You are sitting quietly by a still pond, waiting for fish to swim to the surface. You cannot shout at the fish or throw rocks in the water to make them appear. You must be still. You must be patient. You must be open to whatever comes. This means letting go of expectations. If you go into a session demanding to see your future lottery numbers, you're going to be disappointed. Your ego, your desire, is too loud. It creates too much mental noise. The visions that come through the mirror are often subtle, like whispers. You can't hear a whisper in a loud room, so before you even sit down with your mirror, take some time to quiet the room in your head. For some people, this means meditation. 5 or 10 minutes of just focusing on your breath can work wonders. For others, it might be listening to some calm music, taking a bath, or going for a walk in nature. The goal is to shift gears from the active problem-solving beta, brainwave state of your daily life to a more relaxed, receptive alpha state. You want to be alert but not tense, awake but dreamy. It's also important to be emotionally neutral. Don't try to scry when you are in the middle of a heated argument, feeling deep despair, or are full of anxiety. Your emotional state is the paint that your subconscious will use to color the visions. If you are feeling fearful, you are more likely to see frightening things. If you are angry, you may see violent or chaotic images. That doesn't mean you have to be perfectly happy. A state of calm questioning or gentle melancholy is fine. The key is to be an observer of your feelings, not consumed by them. You are sitting down to watch a screen. You are not the actor in the movie. This detachment is crucial. Be curious, be patient, be open. That's it. That's the entire recipe for the right mindset. Number 21. How should I prepare the room? The concept of creating a sacred or separate space for magical work is ancient and cross-cultural. From the temenos of the ancient Greeks, a piece of land cut off and assigned to a deity, to the magic circles of medieval grimoires. The use of incense, like frankincense or sandalwood, is not just for atmosphere. These resins have been shown to have psychoactive properties. Burning frankincense, for example, can activate ion channels in the brain that alleviate anxiety and depression. Sound, particularly low-frequency drumming or chanting, has been used for millennia to induce trance states by altering brainwave patterns, a process known as auditory driving. Preparing your space is about two things: minimizing distractions and setting a mood. This doesn't need to be a complicated hour-long ritual, it just needs to be intentional. First, and most importantly, you need privacy and quiet. You need to be somewhere you won't be interrupted for at least 30 to 60 minutes. Turn off your phone, tell your family or roommates you need some alone time. Close the door. If you live in a noisy place, consider using earplugs or listening to some ambient music or white noise on headphones. The fewer external stimuli your brain has to process, the easier it will be to focus inward. Second, control the lighting. Scrying works best in very dim light. It should not be pitch black. You need a tiny amount of light to create subtle reflections on the mirror's surface for your eyes to work with. A single candle is traditional and works perfectly. Place the candle behind you or to the side so that you cannot see the flame reflected directly in the mirror. The light should be just enough to illuminate the room softly, creating shadows and a sense of depth. The flickering of the candlelight can also help induce a light trance state. Avoid harsh overhead lights or light from electronic screens. Third, set the mood. This is about creating an atmosphere that tells your subconscious mind, okay, we are doing something different now. We are stepping out of the ordinary. This is where things like incense, sounds, and personal objects come in. Burning a stick of incense like sandalwood, frankincense, or mugwort can help to clear the energy of the room and has a calming effect. The smoke can also create subtle shifting patterns in the air that can aid in the scrying process. Some people like to play soft, instrumental music without lyrics. Others prefer a specific frequency, like a solfeggio tone or a binaural beat designed for meditation. The goal is to create a sensory environment that is pleasant, calming, and free of sharp, sudden changes. Finally, arrange your physical setup for comfort. You will be sitting still for a while. Sit in a comfortable chair that supports your back. Place the mirror on a table or a stand in front of you. It should be at eye level or slightly below so you don't have to strain your neck. You want your posture to be relaxed but upright. Lying down is not recommended as it's too easy to just fall asleep. Make sure the mirror is stable and angled slightly downwards to avoid reflecting ceiling lights or other distractions. Your space is now ready. It's a quiet, comfortable, intentional bubble created for the sole purpose of looking within. Number 20, do I need to do a protection ritual? The practice of casting a circle in modern witchcraft is largely derived from the ceremonial magic of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a late 19th century organization. However, the idea of creating a protected, consecrated space is much older, found in many shamanic and folk magic traditions worldwide. The use of salt as a protective barrier is ancient. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt, the origin of the word salary, and it was considered a symbol of purity and incorruptibility. Visualizing a sphere of white light is a common technique in many spiritual paths, from New Age meditation to Christian mysticism, where it's often associated with the light of God or the Holy Spirit. This is a personal choice, and it depends entirely on your belief system. There are two main schools of thought here. The first is the psychological model. If you believe that scrying is purely an act of exploring your own subconscious, then a protection ritual is about psychology. It's a way of telling your own mind, I am safe. I am in control. I will only interact with the parts of myself that are for my highest good. It's a method for easing anxiety. If you are afraid of what you might see, that fear will taint the session. Doing a simple ritual can act as a powerful placebo, giving you the confidence and peace of mind to proceed. It puts you in the driver's seat. The second school of thought is the spiritual or energetic model. This view holds that when you alter your consciousness and open yourself up, you can become perceptible to other energies or entities that exist outside of yourself. Most of these are neutral, but some might be mischievous or negative. From this perspective, a protection ritual isn't just for peace of mind, it's a form of spiritual security. It's like locking your front door before you go to sleep. You might not have any intruders, but it's a wise precaution. So, what does a protection ritual look like? It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need robes and daggers unless that's what works for you. The power is in your intention. One of the simplest and most effective methods is visualization. Before you begin, close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Imagine a brilliant, warm, white or golden light forming above your head. See it as a small sun. With each breath, feel this sun growing brighter and stronger. Then, visualize this light pouring down over and through your body, filling you from head to toe. See it pushing out any stress, any fear, any negativity. Now imagine this light expanding outwards from you, forming a complete seamless sphere around you in your workspace. This sphere is your protected space. Inside it, you are safe and in control. Hold this image in your mind for a few moments. Know that nothing can enter this sphere without your permission. Another simple method is to use a statement of intent. Just say it out loud with conviction. Something like, I create this space for the purpose of clear sight and understanding. Only that which is for my highest good is welcome here. I am protected. I am in control. That's it. Some people like to use physical elements like sprinkling a little salt water in the corners of the room or burning a protective herb like sage or rosemary. The specific method doesn't matter as much as the feeling of safety and authority it gives you. If doing a ritual makes you feel safer and more confident, then you should absolutely do it. If you find it silly and it distracts you, then skip it. Your belief is the active ingredient. Number 19, how do I actually start the scrying session? The human eye is not a static camera. It is constantly making tiny, involuntary movements called saccades. When you try to fix your gaze on a single point, these movements are suppressed, which can lead to visual distortions and even hallucinations, a key mechanism behind scrying. The optimal distance for scrying is typically arm's length, as this allows the eyes to relax and defocus slightly, preventing eye strain while still being close enough to perceive subtle images. Many experienced scryers report that the initial visions are often misty or cloudy, like smoke or fog swirling in the mirror, which is sometimes called the misting effect. You've prepared your mind. You've prepared your space. You're sitting comfortably in front of your mirror. Now what? The process itself is very simple. There are only a few steps. First, take a few deep, cleansing breaths. Let go of the day. Let go of your to-do list. Let go of your expectations for the session. Just be present in the room. You can state your intention for the session, either out loud or in your mind. It could be a specific question like, what do I need to understand about my current job situation? Or it could be a general intention like, show me what I need to see. Having a question or a focus can be helpful, but it's not strictly necessary. Sometimes it's best to just be open to whatever comes. Now, turn your gaze to the mirror. Don't stare at it intensely. Don't look at your own reflection. Look into it. Look through it. Imagine that you are looking into a deep, black pool of water or a dark night sky. Let your eyes relax and soften. You may find it helpful to slightly defocus your vision. Don't try to force anything to happen. Just gaze gently into the darkness. Your only job for the next few minutes is to breathe and watch. At first, you probably won't see anything. That's normal. You'll just see a black surface. You might see your own faint reflection. Ignore it. Keep your gaze soft. After a few minutes, you might notice things starting to change. The surface of the mirror might seem to get deeper, or it might look like it's filling with a gray mist or smoke. This is a good sign. It means your eyes are relaxing and your perception is starting to shift. Don't get excited. Don't try to analyze it. Just continue to observe passively. Let the mists swirl. Let the shapes form and dissolve. Your eyes might start to water. You might feel the urge to blink. It's okay to blink. Try to do it slowly and gently, without breaking your concentration too much. Your mind will wander. You'll start thinking about dinner or a conversation you had yesterday. That's also normal. When you notice your mind has wandered, gently guide your attention back to the mirror. Don't get frustrated with yourself. This is a meditation. The practice is in the returning, not in achieving perfect, unbroken focus. Just sit, gaze, breathe, wait. You are opening a channel. It takes time for the signal to come through clearly. Be patient. The first stage is just about getting comfortable with the quiet and the dark. Number 18, what kind of things will I see? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, extensively studied the use of active imagination, a process very similar to scrying, where patients would enter a meditative state and interact with figures from their subconscious. He believed these images were archetypes, universal symbols from the collective unconscious. The colors seen during scrying are often interpreted symbolically, an idea as old as ancient Egypt, where, for instance, green represented life and regeneration, while red was associated with chaos and destruction. Seeing geometric patterns like grids or spirals is a common experience in altered states of consciousness, and is thought to be related to the actual structure of the visual cortex in the brain. The things you see in a black mirror can range from the incredibly mundane to the profoundly strange. It's important to remember that most visions will not be like watching a high-definition movie. They are often fleeting, symbolic, and open to interpretation. Here are some of the common types of imagery people report. First, you might see mists, clouds, and colors. This is often the initial stage. The mirror will seem to fill with a swirling gray or white smoke. Out of this smoke, colors might emerge. They might be flashes of color, or the entire mist might take on a certain hue. Pay attention to these colors. They often have symbolic meaning. Blue might suggest calmness or communication. Red could be passion or anger. Green might be growth or jealousy. The meaning is often personal to you. Second, you'll likely see shapes and symbols. As the mists clear, you might see simple geometric shapes, or more complex symbols like a key, a ladder, a book, or an anchor. These are the symbolic language of your subconscious. Don't dismiss them because they aren't a full-blown scene. A single clear symbol can be more powerful than a confusing, detailed vision. Think about what that symbol means to you personally, not just its traditional meaning. Third, you may see faces or figures. These can be one of the most startling things to see. You might see a face you don't recognize, which could be a spirit guide, an ancestor, or just a random construction of your mind. You might see the face of someone you know. Sometimes your own face might appear, but it will look older, younger, or distorted in some way. This is a common phenomenon. Try not to be alarmed, just observe it. What emotion is the face showing? What might it be trying to tell you? Fourth, you could see full scenes. This is less common, especially for beginners, but it can happen. You might see a landscape, a room, or people interacting. It might look like a short, silent film playing in the mirror. These scenes can be literal, showing a possible future or a past event, or they can be highly symbolic, like a dream. Finally, you might not see anything with your physical eyes at all. Sometimes the information comes as a mental impression. You'll be staring into the blackness and suddenly a thought, a word, a name, or a feeling will pop into your head out of nowhere. It's just as valid as a visual image. Scrying is not just about seeing, it's about perceiving. The mirror is a gateway to a different mode of perception, and that information can come through any of your senses, including your intuition. Don't discount a message just because you heard it in your head instead of seeing it with your eyes. Number 17, how do I interpret what I see? The ancient Roman practice of dream interpretation, as detailed by authors like Artemidorus in his Onera Critica, was not about fixed meanings. It emphasized that a symbol's meaning depended entirely on the dreamer's personal life, occupation, and current circumstances. A snake might mean one thing to a doctor healing, and another to a farmer, a threat to livestock. The free association technique, developed by Sigmund Freud for psychoanalysis, is a powerful tool for scrying interpretation. You take the symbol you saw, and then list every thought, feeling, or memory that comes to mind, no matter how random, to uncover its deeper personal meaning. Many experienced diviners keep a dedicated journal, as they've found that the meaning of a vision often doesn't become clear for days or even weeks after the session, only making sense in the context of later events. This is where the real work begins. Seeing the images is only the first step. Understanding them is the goal. There is no universal dictionary of scrying symbols that will give you a definitive answer. Interpretation is a deeply personal art. The most important tool you have for interpretation is a journal. Immediately after you close your scrying session, write down everything you can remember. Everything, even the things that seem silly or unimportant. Write down the mists you saw, the colors, the symbols, the faces, the scenes. Write down any thoughts or feelings you had during the session. Were you scared? Calm? Confused? Write down any words or sounds you heard. Be as detailed as possible. Once you have it all written down, you can begin the process of interpretation, but don't try to force it. Read over your notes. What is the first thing that jumps out at you? Let's say you saw a bird flying out of a cage. The traditional interpretation might be freedom. That's a good starting point. But now you need to make it personal. What does a bird mean to you? Do you love birds? Are you afraid of them? Does a specific type of bird come to mind? What about the cage? Is it a cage you feel trapped in, like a job or a relationship, or is it a cage that keeps you safe? Use free association. Take the central image of the bird and just let your mind wander. Bird, sky, wings, flying, feathers, nest, eggs, freedom, escape, singing. What memories or emotions do these words bring up? Don't censor yourself. The first thoughts that pop into your head are often the most telling. Look at the entire vision as a story or a sentence. The symbols are the words. How do they fit together? If you saw a storm cloud first, then the bird in the cage, and then a key, that tells a very different story than if you saw the key first, then the bird, and then a clear blue sky. The sequence matters. Pay attention to your emotions. How did seeing the image make you feel? The emotional tone of a vision is a huge clue to its meaning. Seeing a snake might be terrifying for one person, indicating a hidden threat. For another who associates snakes with healing and transformation, it could be a very positive sign. Your gut reaction is your best interpreter. Finally, be patient. The full meaning of a vision may not be clear immediately. Sometimes, it only makes sense days or weeks later after something happens in your life. You might have a conversation or see something that suddenly makes the symbol click into place. Oh, that's what the broken bridge meant. Your journal is crucial for this. By keeping a record, you can look back and see patterns. You can see how the symbolic language of your intuition unfolds over time. Interpretation is a dialogue. You receive a symbol, you reflect on it, and you wait for life to provide the context. Number 16, how long should I scry for? Studies on attention span show that most adults can only maintain focused concentration on a single task for about 20 minutes before their mind begins to wander significantly. This is why many meditation practices recommend starting with shorter sessions of 10 to 15 minutes. The risk of eye strain from staring at a fixed point, especially in low light, increases dramatically after about 30 to 40 minutes, leading to physical discomfort that can break the necessary trance state. In traditional shamanic journeys, the duration is often determined by an external rhythm, like the beat of a drum, which might last anywhere from 15 minutes to over an hour, but the practitioner is guided by the sound, not by a clock. There is no magic number here. The right length for a scrying session is however long feels right for you on that particular day. However, for beginners, it's much better to start with shorter sessions and be consistent than to try and force a marathon session right away. Aim for 15 to 20 minutes to start. This is long enough for your eyes to adjust and your mind to quiet down, but not so long that you become overly tired, frustrated, or uncomfortable. Think of it like exercise. You wouldn't go to the gym for the first time and try to run a marathon. You'd start with a short jog. Scrying is a mental and perceptual muscle. You need to build it up over time. In those first few sessions, your main goal is just to get comfortable with the process. Get comfortable with the darkness, the silence, and the feeling of letting your mind drift. You might not see anything at all for the first few attempts, and that's perfectly fine. If you try to force a 2-hour session and see nothing, you'll just get discouraged and quit. A successful 15-minute session, where you just manage to relax and see some mist, is far better. As you become more experienced, you will naturally find your sessions getting longer. You'll become so absorbed in the experience that you lose track of time. A session might stretch to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or even an hour. You'll know when a session is over, the images will fade, the connection will feel like it's been lost. It might feel like you're just staring at a piece of glass again. Or you might simply feel tired and know it's time to stop. Don't try to push past this point. It's better to end the session on a clear note than to strain yourself and end with a feeling of mental exhaustion. It can be helpful to set a very soft, gentle timer when you start. Set it for 20 minutes. If the alarm goes off and you are deep in a vision, you can ignore it and continue. But if you're starting to get restless, it gives you a clear endpoint. It frees you from clock watching. It lets you sink into the experience, knowing that you have a gentle reminder to bring you back. Quality over quantity is the rule. A focused, insightful 10-minute session is infinitely more valuable than a strained, frustrating hour-long one. Listen to your body and your intuition. They will tell you when it's time to begin and when it's time to end. Number 15, what if I don't see anything? A significant percentage of people are classified as having aphantasia, the inability to voluntarily create mental images in their mind's eye. For these individuals, visual scrying may be ineffective, but they can still receive information through other channels like auditory hearing or claircognizant knowing. The pressure to perform, known as performance anxiety, can completely shut down intuitive abilities. This is well documented in creative fields and sports, and it applies equally to psychic work. The expectation of immediate spectacular results is a modern problem. Historical accounts of divination often speak of multiple attempts, failed sessions, and the need for patience and the right astrological or environmental conditions. This is the most common experience for beginners, and it's the point where most people give up. You do everything right, you set up the room, you calm your mind, you stare into the mirror for 20 minutes, and it does not mean you are doing it wrong, and it does not mean you don't have the ability. There are many reasons why you might not see anything. The most common one is that you are trying too hard. You are staring at the mirror with a desperate intensity, demanding that it show you something. That level of conscious effort completely shuts down the passive receptive state needed for scrying. Your logical mind is fully in charge and it's not going to see anything beyond the physical facts. The solution is to relax, let go of the outcome. Your goal for the session should not be to see a vision. Your goal should be to sit peacefully and gaze into the mirror for 15 minutes. If you see something, that's a bonus. Another reason is mental noise. You might think you are relaxed, but your mind is still racing. You're worrying about work, planning your weekend, replaying a conversation. This internal chatter creates too much static. The solution is to spend more time on preparation. Do a longer meditation beforehand. Focus on your breathing. If you find your mind wandering during the session, don't fight it. Just acknowledge the thought and let it go, gently bringing your focus back to the mirror. It may take several sessions just to practice this skill of quieting your mind. It could also be that your expectations are too high. You're waiting for a full-color movie to appear, so you dismiss the subtle things that are actually happening. You ignore the swirling mists. You dismiss the faint flash of color as a trick of the light. You overlook the single static symbol that appeared for a split second. You need to train your perception to notice the subtle. In your journal, write down, saw nothing, but then add, except the mirror seemed to fill with gray smoke for a minute. That wasn't nothing, that was the beginning. Finally, maybe visual scrying isn't your primary intuitive pathway. Some people are not strongly visual, they receive information in other ways. While staring at the mirror, you might hear a word in your mind. You might get a sudden gut feeling or a wave of emotion. You might just know the answer to your question without any sensory input at all. These are all valid forms of psychic information. If this happens, don't discount it. The mirror can be a focus point for all types of intuition, not just visual ones. Be patient with yourself. This is a skill. You didn't learn to ride a bike in one afternoon. Don't expect to become a master scryer in one session. Keep practicing, keep it short, keep it relaxed, and celebrate the small, subtle shifts. They are the first steps. Number 14, is it okay to scry for other people? The position of oracle, such as the famous Oracle of Delphi, was a respected and formal role in ancient societies, dedicated entirely to seeking divination on behalf of others, from common farmers to kings. However, these oracles operated under strict rules and rituals. In modern therapeutic settings, a core ethical principle is unconditional positive regard, meaning the therapist must remain non-judgmental of the client's disclosures. This principle is highly relevant for ethical divination, as the scryer must not impose their own biases on the information they receive. The concept of psychic liability is a real concern for professional readers. If they give specific financial or medical advice that turns out to be harmful, they could potentially face legal consequences. This is a tricky area. The simple answer is yes, you can scry for other people. The more complicated answer is that you probably shouldn't until you are very experienced, confident, and have thought through the ethics of it. When you are just starting out, your focus should be on yourself. You are learning the language of your own intuition. The symbols you see are tied to your own memories, experiences, and beliefs. Trying to read for someone else at this stage is like trying to translate a poem into a language you barely speak. You're likely to get it wrong. Your own fears and hopes for that person will color everything you see. If and when you do feel ready to scry for someone else, you need to establish some very clear ground rules. First, you must have their explicit permission. Never scry for someone without their knowledge and consent. That is a massive invasion of their privacy, it's psychic spying, and it's a deeply unethical thing to do. Second, you are not a fortune teller who can predict the absolute future. You must be very clear about this with the other person. The future is not a fixed, set thing. Scrying shows possibilities, potentials, and underlying energies. It can provide insight and guidance, but it does not offer certainties. Your job is to empower the other person with information, not to tell them what is going to happen. Be using phrases like, "I'm seeing a symbol of an open door," which might suggest a new opportunity is coming, is much better than "you are going to get a new job next month." Third, you have a responsibility to deliver the information you receive in a compassionate and constructive way. You might see difficult or challenging symbols. You should not lie or withhold information, but you must frame it carefully. Instead of saying, "I see a tower crumbling," your relationship is doomed. You could say, "I'm seeing an image of a tower." This can sometimes represent a structure in your life that is no longer stable and may need to be rebuilt on a stronger foundation. It suggests a time of big change. Focus on the potential for growth, not just the crisis. Fourth, set clear boundaries. Do not give medical, legal, or financial advice. You are not a doctor, a lawyer, or a financial advisor. If you see something related to these areas, you can suggest that the person seek advice from a qualified professional. Saying, "I'm seeing something that makes me think it would be a good idea for you to get a checkup," is responsible. Saying, "You have a serious illness," is reckless and dangerous. Finally, remember that you are just the messenger. Don't get attached to the outcome. Don't let your ego get invested in being right. You are simply looking into the mirror and reporting what you see. The interpretation and the decisions belong to the other person. Scrying for others can be a profound and helpful service, but it carries a weight of responsibility. Approach it with humility, integrity, and a genuine desire to help, not to prove your own abilities. Number 13, should I keep a scrying journal? The practice of keeping a magical diary was a central requirement for members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, intended to track progress, record results, and foster self-reflection. The physician and alchemist Paracelsus in the 16th century insisted on the importance of the light of nature, believing that direct experience and observation which would be recorded were superior to received doctrine. The studies in cognitive psychology have shown that the act of writing things down, known as the encoding effect, significantly improves memory recall and helps the brain to process and find patterns in complex information, which is precisely the goal of a scrying journal. Yes, without a doubt. If you are serious about learning to scry, a journal is not optional. It is the single most important tool you will use, even more important than the mirror itself. The visions you receive are often fleeting, symbolic, and confusing at first. Your memory is unreliable. 5 minutes after a session, you will start to forget the details. An hour later, you might only remember 1 or 2 key images. A day later, it might all be a blur. A journal is your data log. It turns a passing, strange experience into a set of data that you can study, analyze, and learn from. Your journal should be dedicated just to your scrying work. Don't use a random notebook you also use for grocery lists. Get a specific book that feels right to you. After every single session, no matter how unsuccessful you think it was, you should write an entry. Start with the basics. Note the date, the time, the phase of the moon, and even the weather if you like. Note your mood and your physical state before you started. Were you tired, anxious, hopeful? This helps you track patterns. You might discover that you get much clearer visions during a full moon or when it's raining. Then, write down your intention or the question you asked for the session. This is your baseline. After that, record everything you experienced in as much detail as you can. Don't just write, "I saw a tree." Write first, "Gray mists appeared from the left." Then a single, bare-branched oak tree formed in the center. It looked like it was winter. I felt a sense of sadness or loneliness when I saw it. Describe the colors, the sounds, the feelings, the thoughts that popped into your head. If you're artistic, you can sketch the symbols or scenes you saw. After you have recorded the raw data of the experience, you can add a section for your initial interpretation. What do you think the vision meant? What are your first impressions? Write them down, even if they seem like a stretch. There's no right or wrong answer at this point. The real power of the journal comes over time. Once a month or every few months, go back and read your past entries. This is when the magic happens. You will start to see your own unique symbolic language emerge. You'll realize that every time you see a raven, it's followed by a period of intense creative work. You'll notice that the color green always appears when you are thinking about family matters. The journal allows you to create your own personal dictionary of symbols. More importantly, you'll be able to connect the visions to real-world events. You'll read an entry from 6 weeks ago where you saw a vision of a locked gate, and you'll remember that the very next day a project at work was unexpectedly blocked. This is how you build trust in your own intuition. The journal provides the proof. It shows you that this isn't just random nonsense. There is a connection. It is your textbook, your lab manual, and your progress report all in one. Number 12, can I use my phone or TV screen? The black mirror effect of a modern screen was famously used in the science fiction series of the same name, highlighting how these ubiquitous devices reflect our own anxieties back at us. The psychological phenomenon of attentional capture describes how certain stimuli, like the notification pop-up on a phone, can involuntarily draw our attention, making it incredibly difficult to maintain the steady, unfocused gaze required for scrying. The polished obsidian mirrors used by the Aztecs were called Tezcatlipoca, which means smoking mirror, a name that evokes the swirling, misty visions that one sees when scrying, a far cry from the hard, static surface of a modern screen. Yes, you can, and in a pinch it's better than nothing. A powered-off smartphone screen, a tablet, or a modern television is, functionally, a black mirror. It's a dark, reflective surface. Many people have had spontaneous scrying experiences while staring blankly at their TV after turning it off. However, while you can use these devices, they are not ideal, and they come with some significant drawbacks. The biggest problem with using an electronic screen is its inherent nature. These devices are designed to be hubs of distraction. Your phone is not a neutral object. It is a portal to your social life, your work, your anxieties, and the endless stream of information from the internet. Even when it's turned off, your brain knows this. It's hard to achieve a deep, meditative state while staring at an object that you associate with constant alerts and mental clutter. There is always a part of your mind that is waiting for it to light up, for a notification to buzz. This creates a low-level tension that works directly against the relaxed, passive state you are trying to cultivate. Another issue is the surface itself. The glass on these devices is often treated with oleophobic coatings to resist fingerprints. This can give it a slightly different reflective quality than a simple piece of glass or obsidian. It can feel flat and lifeless. It doesn't have the same sense of depth that a dedicated scrying mirror can have. It's a hard, impenetrable surface which can make it psychologically more difficult to look into. There is also the matter of intention. When you make or buy a dedicated scrying mirror, you are setting that object aside for a single sacred purpose. You are telling your subconscious, this object is for seeing. It becomes charged with your intent. Your phone, on the other hand, is used for 1,000 different mundane tasks. It lacks that special, set-apart quality. That being said, if it's all you have, you can absolutely make it work. The key is to mitigate the downsides. You must put the device into a state where it cannot interrupt you. Turn it completely off. Don't just put it to sleep. Better yet, put it in airplane mode and then turn off the screen. This ensures no notifications can come through. You need to mentally reframe the object. For the next 20 minutes, this is not your phone. It is a scrying tool. You can place it on a stand or prop it up, treating it as you would a regular mirror. It requires more mental discipline to ignore the inherent nature of the device, but it can be done. It's a good tool for spontaneous scrying on the go, but if you plan to make this a regular practice, creating or acquiring a simple, dedicated mirror is a far better choice. It helps you to leave the world of distractions behind and truly focus on the work at hand. Number 11, how often should I practice? In monastic traditions, both Eastern and Western, the practice of daily prayer or meditation is foundational. It's not about achieving a profound mystical experience every day, but about the cumulative effect of consistent, disciplined practice over years. Athletes know that muscle memory is built through frequent, repeated actions, not through infrequent, intense training sessions. The same principle applies to developing intuitive muscles. The German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered the spacing effect in the 1880s, which shows that learning is more effective when study sessions are spaced out over time rather than crammed together. This suggests that regular, shorter scrying sessions are better for long-term skill development than one long session every month. Consistency is far more important than intensity. It is much, much better to practice for 10 minutes 3 or 4 times a week than it is to do one heroic 2-hour session every 2 months. Scrying is a skill. It's a form of mental and spiritual training. Like any other skill, it grows with regular, consistent practice. You are building a relationship with your intuition and with the tool itself. Relationships need regular contact to flourish. Think of it as creating a pathway in your brain. The first time you do it, you're clearing a faint trail in a dense forest. It's hard work. The next time, the trail is a little easier to see. If you walk that trail every few days, it soon becomes a clear, well-worn path. It's easy to find and easy to follow. But if you wait a month between walks, the undergrowth will grow back, and you'll have to struggle to find the trail all over again. Regular practice keeps that pathway between your conscious and subconscious minds open and clear. So, what does a good schedule look like? It depends on you. For some people, a short session every morning before the day begins is perfect. For others, a session at night to unwind is better. Maybe you decide that Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday evenings are your scrying times. The specific schedule doesn't matter. What matters is creating a rhythm. Making it a regular part of your routine tells your deeper mind that this is important. It learns to anticipate these sessions and can become more responsive. Don't turn it into a chore. If you are feeling exhausted, sick, or just completely uninspired, it is okay to skip a session. This should be something you look forward to, not something you feel guilty about. But try to distinguish between genuine tiredness and simple resistance. Sometimes the part of you that doesn't want to look at difficult truths will come up with all sorts of excuses not to practice. Be gentle but firm with yourself. Also, don't get discouraged by perceived lack of progress. You will have sessions that are brilliantly clear, filled with amazing insights. And you will have sessions where you see absolutely nothing. This is normal. It's part of the ebb and flow of the process. Even the nothing sessions are valuable. They are still practice. You are still sitting down, quieting your mind, and holding the intention. You are still walking the path. The simple act of showing up consistently is what builds the skill in the long run. Don't judge each session on its results. Judge your practice by its consistency. Number 10, does the moon or time of day matter? Many ancient cultures, including the Babylonians and Egyptians, believed that planetary hours were crucial for magical workings, with each hour of the day ruled by a different planetary influence. The witching hour, typically considered to be between 3 and 4 a.m., has its roots in Christian folklore as the time when the veil between worlds is thinnest, because it is the inversion of the time Jesus was said to have died. Scrying during the dark moon, the period when the moon is not visible, is a practice favored by some traditions for introspection and seeking hidden knowledge, while the full moon is often used for work related to manifestation and clarity. The short answer is yes, these things can matter. The long answer is that they matter if you believe they matter, and your own personal rhythm is more important than any traditional rule. Let's break it down. The time of day can have a significant effect, but mostly for practical and psychological reasons. Many people find it easiest to scry at night. Why? Because it's dark, which is a practical requirement. It's also usually quieter at night. The hustle and bustle of the day has died down, and it's easier to slip into a calm, meditative state. Psychologically, night is associated with dreams, the subconscious, and mystery. Our minds are already primed to be more receptive to the non-rational world after the sun goes down. The so-called witching hour is often effective simply because the collective human consciousness is quiet. Most people are asleep, so there is less psychic static in the air. However, if you are a morning person and your mind is clearest right after you wake up, then that is the best time for you to scry. You can do this by using a room with blackout curtains. Don't force yourself to stay up late if your natural energy is at its peak at 6 a.m. The phases of the moon are another powerful influence, especially on a symbolic and energetic level. The moon governs the tides, the cycles of nature, and our own emotional and intuitive bodies. You can align your scrying work with the lunar cycle to enhance your intention. The full moon is a time of high energy, illumination, and clarity. It's a great time to scry for answers to big questions, for clarity on a confusing situation, or for visions related to completion and manifestation. The new moon, or dark moon, is a time of introspection, endings, and beginnings. It's a perfect time for scrying about what you need to release, for looking into the hidden parts of yourself, or for planting the seed of a new intention. The waxing moon from new to full is a time of growth and building, good for scrying about how to move a project forward. The waning moon from full to new is a time of release and banishing, good for scrying about what you need to let go of. Do you have to follow these cycles? No. You can scry successfully on any night of the month, at any time of day. But by aligning your practice with these natural rhythms, you can add an extra layer of power and intention to your work. It's like swimming with the current instead of against it. Experiment for yourself. Keep track in your journal of the time of day and the moon phase for each session. Over time, you will likely discover your own personal power times when the connection feels strongest and the visions are clearest. Your own experience is always the best guide. Number 9. What's the difference between this and a crystal ball? The use of crystal balls, or crystallomancy, was popularized in the modern era by the Romani people, though the practice is much older, with records of scrying with polished beryl dating back to ancient Britain. The primary difference in technique is optical. A sphere refracts light in complex ways, creating internal points of light and distortion that the scryer uses as a focal point, whereas a black mirror provides a single, dark, two-dimensional plane. John Dee, a famous scryer, used both a black obsidian mirror and a crystal sphere, which he called his shoe stone, suggesting that different tools may be suited for different purposes or different types of vision. They are both scrying tools. They are both designed to help you bypass your conscious mind and access a deeper state of perception. The end goal is the same. The primary difference lies in the user experience and the type of focus they require. A black mirror is a passive, receptive tool. It is a void. You look into it, it absorbs the light and provides a dark, empty screen for visions to be projected upon. The experience can feel like you are looking into deep space or a still, dark lake. The images often appear to float on the surface or emerge from the depths. It's a very inward-focused experience. It encourages a deep, quiet, meditative state. A crystal ball, on the other hand, is an active, dynamic tool. You don't just look into it, you look at it and through it. A clear sphere captures and refracts the light in the room. It creates a miniature, upside-down world within itself. It's full of highlights, shadows, and internal flaws. The scryer's technique is to gaze at these points of light and shifting internal shapes until their eyes relax and the images begin to form, often within the ball itself. It can feel more like you are watching a scene unfold inside a contained world. Because it interacts with the ambient light, it can feel more alive and energetic than a black mirror. Some people find it much easier to work with a black mirror because there is less visual information to process. It's a blank slate. This can be very helpful for beginners or for people who are easily distracted. The simplicity of the black mirror makes it easier to quiet the mind. Other people find the void of the black mirror intimidating or boring. They prefer the dynamic, shifting light of a crystal ball. They find that the internal complexities of the sphere give their eyes something to focus on, making it easier to enter a trance state. The type of visions one receives can also differ. This is highly subjective, but some practitioners report that black mirror visions tend to be more symbolic, dreamlike, and related to the inner world, the subconscious, and the past. Crystal ball visions are sometimes described as being clearer, more literal, and more focused on external events or the future. This is not a hard and fast rule, just a tendency that some have noted. Ultimately, neither tool is better than the other. It's a matter of personal preference and what works best for your brain and your intuitive style. The best way to know is to try both and see which one feels more natural to you. Number 8, can I hear things or just see them? The phenomenon of clairaudience or clear hearing is a common form of psychic perception, where information is received as internal or external sounds, words, or music. This is distinct from auditory hallucinations associated with mental illness, as the content is typically coherent and relevant to the individual's query. During the deep trance states achieved by some mediums, they often report hearing the voices of spirits as clearly as if a living person were in the room. The McCullough effect is a visual phenomenon where staring at colored grids can cause you to see phantom colors on black and white grids later similarly. Focusing intensely on one sense vision in scrying can sometimes cause the brain to addotape and cross wire and produce sensations in another sense, like hearing. Absolutely, scrying is often thought of as a purely visual practice, but that's a very limited view. The mirror is a tool for focusing your consciousness. Once your consciousness is focused and you enter that receptive, trance-like state, information can come through any of your psychic senses. You are opening a door, and you don't always get to choose what comes through it or how it arrives. A clairaudience, or clear hearing, is very common during scrying. You might be staring into the mirror, seeing nothing but faint mists, and then you'll hear a word or a short phrase in your mind. It won't sound like it's coming through your ears. It will sound like a thought, but it won't feel like your thought. It will have a different quality to it. It will feel like it was dropped into your head from an outside source. Sometimes it can be very clear, like someone speaking a single word, wait, or look closer, or a person's name. Pay close attention to these words. They are often direct and important messages. You might also experience clairsentience or clear feeling. This is when you receive information as an emotion or a physical sensation. You might see an image of a person in the mirror and suddenly be flooded with a feeling of deep sadness or a jolt of excitement. Or you might feel a sudden chill, a warmth on your skin, or a tingling sensation. These feelings are part of the message. The emotion is the context for the image. There is also claircognizance, or clear knowing. This can be the most subtle and powerful form of information. You'll be looking into the mirror and suddenly, you will just know the answer to your question. There'll be no image, no sound, no feeling, just a sudden, certain, and complete understanding that appears in your mind fully formed. It's not a guess or a deduction, it's a direct download of information. Don't get so focused on trying to see something that you miss the other messages that are coming through. The scrying process heightens all of your intuitive senses. The visual channel is just one of them. When you are recording your session in your journal, make sure to note everything what you saw, what you heard, what you felt, and what you suddenly knew. Often, the complete message is a combination of all of these things. The image provides the subject, the feeling provides the context, and the word provides the instruction. You are learning to become a multi-sensory receiver. The mirror is just the tuning knob. Number 7, how do I know it's not just my imagination? A 2007 study using fMRI scans showed that the brain activity when imagining a visual scene is remarkably similar to the brain activity when actually perceiving that same scene, indicating a deep neurological link between imagination and perception. The writer J.R.R. Tolkien described 2 levels of imagination: the imagination that is simply the rearranging of existing memories, and the imagination with a capital I that taps into a deeper archetypal reality to create something truly new, a concept that aligns with the idea of scrying visions as something more than mere fantasy. Many inventors and scientists, including Nikola Tesla, have reported receiving complex ideas and schematics in vision like flashes of insight that felt external, as if they were observing something that already existed rather than creating it themselves. This is the question that plagues every person who starts on a path like this. It's the voice of the inner skeptic, the rational mind demanding proof. And it's a good question. The honest answer is, in the beginning, you don't know for sure. And maybe you can never be 100% certain. A huge part of what you experience in the mirror is your imagination. The process of scrying is, in many ways, a conversation with your imagination and your subconscious. But the real question is not, is it just my imagination? The real question is, what is imagination? We tend to use the word imagination to mean fake or made up. But imagination is also the source of all creativity, all innovation, all empathy. It's the faculty that allows us to conceive of things that do not yet exist. It is one of the most powerful and mysterious functions of the human mind. So instead of dismissing an experience, because it might be just imagination, try to treat your imagination as a valid source of information. How do you tell the difference between idle daydreaming and a genuine scrying vision? There are a few key qualities to look for. First, a genuine vision often feels other. It has a quality of surprise. It will be something you weren't expecting, something you wouldn't have consciously thought of. The daydreams tend to follow a predictable, logical path, often a path of wish fulfillment. Scrying visions are often strange, symbolic, and non-linear. They can be jarring. Second, genuine visions have a spontaneous quality. They seem to appear on their own, rather than being consciously directed by you. When you are daydreaming, you are the director of the movie. You are deciding what happens next. In scrying, you are the audience. You are watching a movie that is being played for you. There is a sense of observation rather than creation. Third, a real vision often carries an emotional weight or a sense of significance. It feels important even if you don't understand it. A simple image of a key scene in the mirror might feel more profound and resonant than an elaborate hour-long daydream about winning the lottery. The ultimate test, however, is verification over time. This is why your journal is so critical. You see an image that makes no sense to you. You write it down. 3 weeks later, an event occurs that perfectly explains the image. After this happens a few times, you start to build trust. You begin to understand that your imagination is capable of accessing information that your conscious mind does not have. You learn from experience that there is a difference between making things up and receiving information. Don't fight with your inner skeptic. Instead, task it with a job. Tell it to be a scientist. Its job is to observe, record the data in the journal, and look for patterns and correlations. Over time, the evidence you collect will provide the answer. Number 6, what? If I see something about death. In ancient Greece, death was not seen as an ultimate evil, but as a natural and necessary part of life, personified by the god Thanatos, who is often depicted as a peaceful, winged figure, not a frightening monster. The Tower card in the tarot is one of the most feared cards, often interpreted as death or disaster, but its core meaning is about the sudden, catastrophic destruction of a false structure or belief system to make way for something truer. It's about radical, necessary change, not necessarily physical death. Many near-death experiences include a life review, where a person's entire life flashes before their eyes, suggesting that the moment of transition is often one of understanding and integration, not just an end. This is a common fear, and it's a valid one. Seeing an image that you interpret as being about death your own or someone else's can be deeply unsettling. The first and most important thing to do is not to panic. Take a deep breath. Break your gaze from the mirror. If you need to, end the session immediately. The image itself cannot harm you. Your fear is the most powerful and dangerous part of the experience. The second thing to remember is that death in a scrying vision or any form of divination almost never represents a literal, physical death. It is one of the most powerful symbols the subconscious can use, so it uses it to represent things that are equally powerful endings, transformation, and radical change. Seeing a skull, a coffin, or even your own gravestone is far more likely to be a message about a part of your life that is coming to an end. It could be the death of a job, a relationship, a belief system, or an old version of yourself. This kind of death is a necessary part of life. A seed has to die for a plant to grow. You have to end one chapter to begin the next. The symbol is not a prediction of doom, it is a notification of a major transition. It's telling you to prepare for a significant change. When you see a symbol like this, your job is not to be afraid of it. Your job is to question it. What in my life needs to end? What part of me is ready to be shed like an old skin? What is this vision telling me to let go of? Often, the thing that needs to do is something that has been holding you back, a bad habit, a toxic friendship, a limiting belief about yourself. In this context, the death symbol is actually a positive sign. It's a sign of liberation and renewal. Now, is it possible to see a literal death? The answer is probably yes. It is within the realm of possibility, but it is exceedingly rare. The future is not a fixed movie that you can preview. You are seeing potentials and probabilities. If you do see something that feels very literal and very specific, do not accept it as an unchangeable fate. Visions are often warnings. They are an opportunity to change course. If you have a vision of a car crash on a specific road, you can choose to take a different road. The vision is not a sentence. It is information. It empowers you to make different choices. But again, this is a very, very rare occurrence. 99.9% of the time, death imagery is symbolic. Treat it as a powerful metaphor for change, and you will unlock its true message. Number 5, what do I do if I see something bad? The concept of a thought form, an entity created and sustained by focused thought and emotion, exists in many esoteric traditions. The idea is that intense fear can literally give a frightening image more energy and persistence. The simple act of turning on a bright light can be a powerful psychological and energetic banishing tool, as darkness is often associated with the unknown and the subconscious, while light is associated with consciousness, awareness, and safety. Grounding techniques such as eating food or touching a natural object are used in both spiritual practices and modern trauma therapy to bring a person's awareness back into their physical body and out of a state of panic or dissociation. This is the big question. This is what stops many people from ever even trying. What if you look into the mirror and see something genuinely frightening? a distorted face, a menacing figure, something that radiates malice. It can happen, and you need to be prepared for it. The preparation is not a complex ritual, it's a simple set of mental and physical actions. First, do not engage. If you see something that feels negative, scary, or threatening, your immediate instinct might be to ask it questions. Who are you? What do you want? Do not do this. Do not give it your attention or your energy. Engaging with it is like opening the door to a stranger who is screaming on your porch. You don't know what it is or what its intentions are. The safest and wisest course of action is to not engage. Second, break contact immediately. The connection is maintained through your gaze and your focus. As soon as you see something you are not comfortable with, break your gaze. Look away from the mirror. Do not try to stare it down or be brave. Just look away. The most effective thing you can do is to immediately cover the mirror with a cloth. This physically breaks the connection and contains the energy. Third, change the environment. Turn on the lights. A bright overhead light will instantly shatter the trance-like atmosphere. The menacing shadow in the corner becomes a coat rack again. The spooky feeling dissipates. If you were burning incense, snuff it out. If you were playing ambient music, turn it off and put on something upbeat and normal. The goal is to completely and abruptly change the sensory input to bring you back to ordinary reality. Fourth, ground yourself. This is the most crucial step for your own well-being. Grounding means bringing your energy and your awareness fully back into your physical body and the present moment. There are many ways to do this. Stand up and stamp your feet on the floor. Feel the solid ground beneath you. Go to the kitchen and get something to eat and drink. The physical act of eating is very grounding. Wash your hands and face with cold water. The shock of the cold brings you right back to your body. Touch something real and solid, a wooden table, a stone, the wall. Name 5 things you can see in the room, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear. This pulls you out of your head and into the physical world. Fifth, verbally reclaim your space. Once you are feeling more grounded and calm, state out loud, with authority, "This is my space. Only positive energies are welcome here. Anything that is not for my highest good must leave now." You are the master of your own space and your own mind. You have the authority to say what is and is not allowed. Say it like you mean it. Seeing something spooky is not a sign of failure. It can happen. It could be a stray negative energy, it could be a manifestation of your own fears, or it could be your intuition warning you about something. The source doesn't matter in the moment. What matters is that you know how to handle it. You are in control. You have the power to simply say, no, close the session and turn on the lights. Knowing you have this power is what gives you the confidence to explore the darkness in the first place. Number 4, how do I close the door when I'm done? The act of formally thanking spirits or deities at the end of a ritual is a near universal practice in spiritual traditions, seen as a sign of respect and a way to ensure a harmonious relationship. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, a cornerstone of modern ceremonial magic, is used both to open and close a working, with the closing ritual intended to formally dismiss any summoned entities and return the space to its normal state. Covering sacred objects when not in use is a common practice. For example, a Torah scroll is dressed in a mantle and kept in an ark, and tarot cards are often wrapped in silk or kept in a wooden box to protect them from external energies. This is arguably the most important part of any scrying session, and it's the step that most beginners skip. You wouldn't just walk out of a stranger's house without saying goodbye. In the same way, you should not just get up and walk away from your mirror after a session. You have deliberately opened a channel, a state of heightened awareness. You must now deliberately and consciously close it. This is a matter of good spiritual hygiene. It ensures that you don't walk around all day feeling spacey and ungrounded, and it prevents any lingering energies from sticking around. The process of closing is simple, but it should be done with intention every single time. First, bring your awareness back to your own body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Take a few deep breaths. Feel the chair beneath you. Become fully present in the room again. Next, you need to offer thanks. Even if you saw nothing, or if what you saw was confusing, you should still give thanks. You can say it in your head or out loud. Thank the mirror, thank your intuition. If you work with guides, gods, or ancestors, thank them for their presence and their wisdom. Something simple like, I give thanks for the insights I have received. Thank you for your guidance. This is an act of gratitude and respect. It closes the communication on a positive and polite note. Then, you must formally declare the session over. This is a clear statement of intent that closes the energetic door. Again, say it out loud with conviction. The session is now closed. Some people like to make a physical gesture as they say this, like clapping their hands once or drawing a line in the air in front of the mirror. This physical action reinforces the mental command. After you have declared the session closed, you must cover the mirror. This is non-negotiable. A scrying mirror should never be left uncovered when not in use. Find a nice piece of cloth. Black silk or velvet is traditional, but any opaque cloth will do, and drape it over the mirror or wrap the mirror in it. This does two things. Psychologically, it signals to your brain that the tool is off. Energetically, it prevents the mirror from continuing to act as a focal point or from picking up stray energies in the room. Finally, do one last grounding action. Have a sip of water, stretch, or walk around the room for a moment. Make sure you feel fully back in your body and in normal consciousness before you go and interact with other people or get in a car. This whole closing process might only take a minute or two, but it is an essential part of a safe and effective practice. It's the hang up the phone at the end of the call. It shows respect, maintains your own energetic boundaries, and keeps your practice clean and clear. Number 3 is scrying dangerous. The historical witch trials often featured accusations of divination through mirrors or water, with the practice being condemned as demonic. This has created a deep-seated cultural fear around scrying, associating it with heresy and evil. From a modern psychological perspective, the primary danger of scrying lies in the potential for misinterpretation and obsession. A person might see a negative symbol and become convinced a terrible event is unavoidable, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy driven by their own anxiety. For individuals with pre-existing tendencies towards psychosis or dissociation, practices that intentionally alter consciousness, like scrying, could potentially exacerbate their symptoms and should be approached with extreme caution or avoided entirely. This depends entirely on how you define dangerous. Is a kitchen knife dangerous? Yes, in the wrong hands or used carelessly, it can cause great harm, but used with respect, focus, and for its intended purpose, it is a valuable tool. A black mirror is the same. No, the mirror itself is not going to suck you into another dimension or unleash a demon into your house. That is movie-level fantasy. The object itself, a piece of black glass, has no power to harm you. The dangers of scrying are more subtle and are almost entirely psychological and spiritual. The first real danger is obsession. You might have a few successful sessions and become reliant on the mirror for every little decision in your life. You stop trusting your own judgment and feel the need to check the mirror before doing anything. This is a form of spiritual addiction. You give away your personal power to a tool. The goal of scrying is to develop your own intuition, not to become dependent on an external object. You must keep it in its proper place as a tool, not an oracle that rules your life. The second danger is fear. If you approach the mirror with a deep-seated fear of what you might see, you are very likely to manifest exactly what you are afraid of. Your own fear becomes a creative force, projecting frightening images onto the mirror's surface. This can create a feedback loop. You see something scary, which makes you more scared, which causes you to see even scarier things. This is why a calm, neutral mindset is so important. If you are not in a good mental place, it is better not to scry. The third danger is delusion or misinterpretation. You might see a symbol and jump to a wild, dramatic conclusion. You see a symbol of a snake and become convinced your neighbor is trying to poison you. You take a symbolic vision and interpret it in a paranoid, literal way. This can lead to making very poor decisions in your life based on a misunderstanding of the information you received. This is why keeping a journal and reflecting on visions over time is so important. It helps you to avoid knee-jerk reactions. For most people, scrying is a safe and deeply insightful practice. It is a form of meditation and self-reflection. However, if you have a history of serious mental health issues, particularly conditions involving psychosis, schizophrenia, or severe dissociation, you should be extremely cautious. Intentionally blurring the lines between reality and inner vision could be destabilizing. In this case, it would be wise to avoid the practice or only undertake it with the guidance of a qualified therapist who understands these states. For the vast majority of people, though, The rules for safety are simple: be respectful, stay grounded, close your sessions properly, and don't give away your power. If you do that, scrying is no more dangerous than reading a challenging book or having a very vivid dream. Number 2. What if I become frightened of the mirror itself? The phenomenon of a cursed object is a powerful psychological trope where a neutral item becomes imbued with fear and negative association after a bad experience. This is a form of conditioning, similar to how a person might develop a phobia of dogs after being bitten. In many folk magic traditions, there are methods for deconsecrating or neutralizing a magical tool, which often involve burying it in the earth for a period of time, washing it in salt water, or exposing it to sunlight, all actions intended to ritually cleanse it of previous influences and return it to a neutral state. Sometimes, simply putting an object away and out of sight for an extended period can be enough to break the psychological fixation and fear associated with it. It can happen. You have one bad experience, you see something that truly frightens you. You handle it correctly in the moment, but a lingering fear remains. Now, every time you look at the mirror, even when it's just sitting on your shelf covered in its cloth, you feel a prickle of anxiety. You start to associate the object itself with the fear you felt. The tool, which was once a source of wonder, has become a source of dread. When this happens, you have a few options. The first and simplest is to just put it away. You are under no obligation to continue this practice. If it is no longer serving you, if it is causing you more anxiety than insight, then your journey with the black mirror might be over, at least for now. Put it in a box, place it at the back of a closet, and forget about it for a while. There is no shame in this. The point is not to be a fearless psychic warrior. The point is to engage in practices that enhance your life. If scrying is no longer doing that, stop. However, you might feel that you don't want to be defeated by this fear. You want to reclaim the tool in your practice. In this case, you need to perform a deep cleansing and a reconsecration of the mirror. You need to strip it of the negative association and give it a fresh start. There are many ways to do this. You can physically wash the mirror if it's made of glass or stone in salt water, a traditional purifying element. As you wash it, visualize all the fear, all the negative energy, all the bad memories being washed away, going down the drain. Another powerful method is to use smoke. Burn a cleansing herb like sage, rosemary, or frankincense and pass the mirror through the smoke multiple times. As you do, state your intention out loud. I cleanse this mirror of all previous energies. I remove all fear and all negativity. I return this tool to a state of neutrality and light. Sunlight is also a potent cleanser. Many scrying tools are kept out of the sun to preserve their dark, receptive quality. But if you need to perform a hard reset, placing the mirror in direct sunlight for a full day can be very effective. The sun's energy is active, fiery, and purifying. It can burn away the lingering shadows. After you have cleansed it, you need to reconsecrate it. This just means formally dedicating it back to its positive purpose. Hold the mirror in your hands, feel its weight, remind yourself that it is a tool and you are its master. Pour your own positive energy and intention into it. You can say something like, I dedicate this mirror to the work of insight, wisdom, and healing. It is a tool for my highest good and it is protected by my will. After this, start again, but start small. Don't jump right back into a deep scrying session. Just sit with the mirror for a few minutes each day. Don't even try to scry, just get reacquainted with it. Let it become a neutral object again. When you feel comfortable, you can try a very short 5-minute session with a very clear, positive intention. You are retraining your brain to associate the mirror with safety and insight, not with fear. If the fear persists, then it's a clear sign to put the mirror away for good. Your peace of mind is always the top priority. Number 1, is this a path to wisdom or a path to madness? The ancient Greek maxim, know thyself, inscribed at the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, home of the Oracle, suggests that the ultimate goal of all spiritual inquiry is self-knowledge, not fortune-telling. The Rorschach inkblot test, developed by psychiatrist Hermann Rorschach in 1921, operates on a principle similar to scrying. A person is shown an ambiguous, abstract image, and their interpretation is believed to reveal their underlying thought processes and emotional state. The journey of the Night Sea Journey in mythology, found in stories from Gilgamesh to Jonah, is a powerful metaphor for the process of confronting the darkness of one's own unconscious, a difficult and frightening journey that is ultimately necessary for rebirth and the attainment of true wisdom. At the end of the day, this is the only question that truly matters. When you sit before a piece of polished black glass and invite the unknown to show you its face, where are you headed? Are you walking a path toward greater self-awareness, insight, and connection? Or are you simply learning to hallucinate in a controlled way, blurring the lines of reality and opening yourself up to delusion? The answer is that the black mirror is a crossroads. The path you take depends entirely on the intention, discipline, and honesty you bring to the practice. It can absolutely be a path to a form of madness. If you use it to escape from your life, to feed your ego by believing you are a great prophet, to confirm your paranoid fantasies, or to become dependent on it for every choice, you are on a dangerous road. You are using the mirror to build a world of illusion around yourself, to reinforce your own biases and fears. This is not wisdom, it is a spiritual dead end. It is the path of the person who gets lost in their own reflection. But it can also be a profound path to wisdom. If you approach it with humility, with a genuine desire to know thyself, it becomes a powerful tool for self-exploration. The mirror will show you things about yourself that you have tried to hide. It will reflect your fears, yes, but it will also reflect your hidden strengths. It will show you your prejudices, your limiting beliefs, and your unhealed wounds. This is not always a pleasant experience. Looking honestly at your own shadow is difficult work, but it is the only work that leads to real growth. The path to wisdom is paved with self-awareness. The black mirror, used correctly, is a tool for radical self-awareness. It forces you to confront the symbolic language of your own soul. It teaches you to listen to the quiet voice of your intuition beneath the clamor of your daily thoughts. It shows you that you are connected to something larger than your conscious self, whether you call that the subconscious, the collective unconscious, or the divine. The key is to stay grounded. The wise scryer has one foot in the world of visions and one foot firmly planted in the real world. They use the insights from the mirror to live a better life, to be a kinder person, to make more conscious choices. They do not get lost in the visions. They bring the wisdom back with them and integrate it. The journal is the bridge between these two worlds. It helps you to translate the strange, symbolic language of the mirror into practical guidance for your life. So, is it wisdom or madness? You are the deciding factor. The mirror shows you what is already there. It is a neutral screen. If you bring a disciplined mind and an honest heart to it, it will reflect a path to deeper understanding. If you bring fear, ego, and a desire for escape, it will reflect your own confusion back at you. The mirror does not choose the path. You do.